Here we go.
What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
Richardson gonna take off and run. He's in there! Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! Outside give to Taylor. Stretching it out. He's at the 5, and he walks in untouched. Jonathan Taylor. Turner wants to do more damage, and he does.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
In Boston, the Eastern Conference Finals about to begin as the Pacers take on the Boston Celtics. Boston shooting well. They're 7 of 11. They lead 16-7. Halliburton's got an open 3 off the bounce, and he hit it from the left edge. 6 and 2/10 seconds to get the last shot. Halliburton has it, bounces it once, and takes a 3 from way out that goes right through the middle. They've got less than 2 seconds to go the distance. The game is tied at 64. At halftime in Boston, Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals, it's the Boston Celtics 64, the Indiana Pacers 64. Ball comes in from the far side near the hash. Shepard got it in. One bounce Halliburton. He leans in. Brown played him beautifully, but he hit the 3 anyway. From the left side, it hit the glass, the rim, back to the glass, and it went in. Boy, that was a fortuitous development. Brown had him smothered. I'm surprised he even got it away. Never mind, made it. Turn around the screen. Halliburton to the corner. From there, Nembhard puts it on the floor, and his left wing jump shot is money. Under a minute to go, Indiana by 1. Nembhard will bring it up. Left of the logo and into the forecourt. Pacers in yellow, Celtics in white. Nembhard to the top of the circle, to the foul line. He's in the lane. He shoots over Horford. And that was impressive. A shot from just outside the foul line. Nembhard coolly drains it. The lead back up to 3. 10 seconds to go. Pacers inbound from the side, leading by 3. Nembhard almost couldn't get it in, and he threw it away. He tried to get it to Siakam on the baseline. Siakam couldn't handle it. Boston has it. Ball will come in from the baseline, far side. Holiday will get it in. He'll get it to the corner. A 3 on the way. Brown, and we're tied. Nembhard will play it in. Game tied, 5 7/10 to go. He got it in. Halliburton has it, drives it. 3 seconds to go. He is in all kinds of trouble. We're going to overtime. Boston survives and holds on to their home court, defeating the Pacers 133 to 128. What a lost opportunity.
I love the way our guys fought in this game. This loss is totally on me. With 10 seconds in regulation, we should have just taken the timeout, advanced the ball, and found a way to get it in and made a free throw or 2 and ended the game. But it didn't happen. We made some other mistakes, but our guys just need to concentrate on fighting the way they fought in this game from start to finish, and we'll be back Thursday.
You know what? That's even more brutal to listen to this afternoon than it was to watch originally right here. Northside District Taps, our location today. Our friends from Miller Lite are here. Miller Lite Carb Day tickets, race day tickets as people are signing up for those. And I would love to see you here on what is a gorgeous day. And hopefully these gorgeous days or sunsplash days are not going to be as we walk further and further to the end of the week at a premium. But District Tap on the north side, your chance to win Carb Day tickets, Miller Lite Carb Day tickets, and race day tickets are here. Actually, I think Sienna told me maybe 24 winners in all, I believe. So, yes, a great opportunity for you, like it was a tremendous opportunity for the Pacers last night. And I know exactly what you expect. You expect me to absolutely lose my mind and go off. Lose my mind and go off. And listen, you're not going to find anybody more pissy than me. I was pissy last night. I was pissy overnight. I slept about an hour and a half, which is basically what I do anyway. I got up, and I was pissy when I got up, and then I sat out in the parking lot here and took a nap before I walked in. Same kind of thing. But I did get a chance after the nap to do a little bit of deep thought, and I will go into that in a second. Now, You go back to last night, and was it a massive gag job? There is no question about it. I know that sounds severe. I know people don't want to hear it about their favorite team, but you had not just inbounding the ball with the lead that you couldn't get in, but even before that, with about 20 seconds on the clock, when Tyrese Halliburton goes into the front court and just inexplicably up three turns it over. You just turn it over. And part of me, I don't understand it because it is about execution. But we've watched this Pacer team. And the thing you love most about them is their pace, their tempo. They get up and down, and exactly what I told you going into the series. It's why I was really confident in what they were going to be able to do against Boston, even though it's incredibly talented from really 1 through 6. The Boston Celtics is Boston gets it up and down the floor, but hell, they don't go that fast. And Jaylen Brown said it after the game. He says, you know what, we go fast, but they go fast. And I knew that was going to be, and it has been for the Pacers, their defining quality of the season. Now, there's something else that comes to that, too, and this is about execution. But the other thing that comes with that is it is tough for you to downshift. And I know there are a lot of terms I'm using here, especially with the greatest spectacle in racing coming up on Sunday. But it's tough to downshift. It's tough to slow down. I don't know about you, but there are times when the Pacers are playing in the half court when I kind of have to hide my eyes. I love Obi Toppin coming off the bench. He's been great, but if he has to take more than 3 dribbles, I hide my eyes. Miles was outstanding once again last night, but when he has to take some dribbles, meaning if they're not going with their hair on fire to the rim and stepping into shots off of quick passing because of that pace, then I think this team, as we've watched, will have the tendency to struggle. Miles said after the game last night that there's a lot of inexperience, and you can see it, and I know a lot of people disagreed with it. It was 100% accurate. There was inexperience. Now, you look at Rick Carlisle, the coach, and you kind of wonder what he said in owning that loss last night. It's not entirely on him because, again, the lack of execution, if you're talking about Halliburton, if you're talking about Nembhard, the lack of execution came into play there as well. I know. I was like you. I wanted to see them foul. And he had time. Siakam had time to foul, but you could tell, and I've seen this more times than not, you could tell that the whole gathering and going up rule was bouncing around in his head in those final seconds, and he just thought, hey, I'm going to get up as close as I can. I think the time is gone for me to commit this foul, to give this foul. So if he's going to make this, he's going to make it. And Jaylen Brown with that slop, which is exactly what it was. There's nothing great about that shot. He's not going to hit that thing 5 out of 10 times under that pressure in that moment. It was slop, but so was Tyrese Halliburton's the end of the third. All right, that's what happens at the end of games, and that does spell inexperience, which this team has, and there's no passes given. I'm not giving any passes because I expect more, as you know. I've expected more out of this group. I expected more last night. What I saw was exactly what I thought I was going to see. A team that is going to be tough on anybody, much less the Boston Celtics, that everybody believed from the outset of the season was going to win it all. I got, other than the lack of execution down the stretch, exactly what I thought. And we're going to go over all of that, including the thought process, the coaching, where they were in the inbound, why you don't advance the ball with the timeout. That would have given you 0 timeouts, but at least get it up there, kind of out of that so-called coffin corner. Why T.J. McConnell would not have been in the game. He was in the game for Miles most of the rest of the way, was he not? Or at least a lot of it. Why he wasn't in the game at that moment, because when you think about it, you're going to need all hands on deck on that inbound. And Miles was like in Maine on the other end. And that did you no good. We got all that to talk about, too. Again, District Tap on the north side, Miller Lite Carb Day. We're giving away passes and tickets to the greatest spectacle in racing, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. You can watch, you can listen. And I will tell you before we get to our first guest today that, as I mentioned at the outset, I was highly pissy. But there's also a part of me that went, oh, wow, that's just what I thought. That's why I have so much confidence in these guys. Because they can play. They can play with these guys, and they can turn these guys inside out. They can play with Boston. They can keep up. They can outpace Boston. It's just executing at the end. I thought Jason Tatum was the invisible man most of the way. And when you look at it, there was no down cycle for Boston after a 6-game layup. They were awesome. They were awesome offensively. They played exactly how Boston did. If you look at their losses in those game twos in the previous two series, it was because they just kind of came out there and looked like they were half-assing it. They weren't half-assing that last night. They get out to a 12-point advantage. Pacers respond. Another double-digit lead. Pacers respond. That was this season vintage Boston. They got a series on their hands, even if the Pacers did blow that initial game. Back to that in a second, but on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the Pacers Radio Network, the former NBA guard, Eddie Gill joins us. You cover the team. You've been a part of the team. You're a former NBA player, obviously playing guard, instructing people where to be, where to go, what to do. I can't imagine there was anybody more excruciatingly in pain in watching how that went down, especially in that inbound to tie it up, than you last night doing Pacers radio. How brutal was that? It had to be more brutal than me watching it at home.
Yeah, it's funny you used the word excruciating because Mark Boyle used that exact same word during the call last night, and I couldn't agree more with how painful not only just the ending of the game, but just throughout it, the ebbs and flows of it. You referenced the resiliency of the Pacers able to get back into it after a number of big runs by the Celtics in a really good environment, and then the Pacers were able to get back into it. But throughout the game, even though they had some really moments of brilliance, there were moments of Space Jam out there where it looked like the aliens came down and zapped them from their talent. Just bizarre turnovers that they had. A ton of, I guess 21-22, I think the final number was, but I'd say well over half of those were unforced turnovers. I thought they did a fair job. Even though I think Boston is very good defensively, I do think that more than half of those were unforced turnovers. So, it's easy to look at that last play and say that we got to be able to execute better because they should be able to execute better, and I think they will in the future. But in those moments, you got to capitalize because that was a huge opportunity.
Yeah, Eddie Gill joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I tweeted out last night that the Pacers were casual with the ball. Those turnovers, to me, were of the casual variety. And not like they're out there, hey, whatever happens, happens. But you're just not sitting on top of it, right? You're just not as focused with the ball. And I use the term casual because I thought most of those turnovers, especially the late ones, were coming from a casual stance. And that is something, Eddie, I could be wrong about this, and I'll give you my thoughts on the rest of the way in a second. But I thought everything last night that cost him that game and just a tremendous opportunity is incredibly correctable because I expect them to play tomorrow night in a similar fashion as we witnessed last night.
Yeah, that's 100% the glass half full approach. That's the beauty of it is that those mistakes, the majority of those mistakes are very much correctable and also very much uncharacteristic of this team. We haven't seen them do that for the most part throughout this season. They're typically very sure-handed when you're thinking about the guards that they have and the plays that they're able to make without turning the ball over. Just down the line, they just do a very good job of taking care of it. Go back to the New York series. They did a great job of taking care of the basketball. So uncharacteristic mistakes out there, and you look to correct them. On the flip side of that is it's not, game 9 of the regular season. It was game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and you only get but so many of those opportunities.
Here's the other thing I thought. Is it outlandish for me to suggest, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, yeah, here he is, Mr. Pacer guy. I thought Jaylen Brown last night with that shot, until further notice, I thought he saved the series and saved the season for the Celtics. I thought, to me, that's how important that shot from the corner was, not just to put down the Pacers in game number 1, but to survive what could have been incredible disaster. Because, again, I don't think the blue and gold, Eddie, are going away. Not at all.
No, I still foresee a competitive series, and the Pacers still have a legitimate opportunity to get out of it. They showed that they can play with this team, showed that they can play at a really high level. They had moments of dominance in the game. Would I say it saved them from in this series? That may be a little extra, but it definitely they definitely would have rather go in than not. Considering, again, it's the first of 4, so these games are critically important. Newsflash of the day.
Yeah, no doubt. It's Eddie Gill with us. Hey, personnel-wise, on that inbound, couple of things here. Did you think that T.J. McConnell, like I did, should have been in the game? Because they were getting zero separation and actually didn't even utilize Miles on the other end. So they were working against it out of a bad spot. So I didn't like that. I didn't like that, the fact that Halliburton was kind of going away from Nembhard, the inbounder. Neesmith was out there. Pascal was covered. And, hell, he's your worst free throw shooter in the postseason out there. Well, he's the guy that actually came the closest to the ball. And then to have Miles down there doing nothing didn't make any sense to me. Why did you think McConnell wasn't in the game at that moment?
Yeah, I think this is not a personnel issue at all. McConnell being in the game or out of the game, I don't think had anything to do with it. I didn't have a problem with him not being in the game. And with Miles being on the opposite end of the floor, it actually gives you more space to operate. If you got all those guys up in the front court, you're even more susceptible to a turnover because there's just too many bodies in a small confined space. I think where there's room for criticism or correction is if you say, hey, Pascal Siakam should take a better route to the basketball versus the route where he was running straight towards the basket, allowing Jaylen Brown to cut that angle off. It's almost a little bit like the DB and the wide receiver. You got to cut that defensive angle off to where he can't get between you and that basketball and have an opportunity to get a deflection on it. Drew Holiday and Derek White, they switched the screen, what you thought they would do anyway. They got 4 guys out there. They're switching the entire game anyway, which makes it incredibly difficult on you. So they switched between Nembhard and Halliburton. So neither one of them had real opportunity to get the ball. And then Siakam's able to break free through the middle. But again, I think the bigger and biggest factor for me was the angle in which he took to go towards that ball.
Eddie, I'll give you an angle, but I thought Halliburton was the one that took the bad angle or the worst angle there. I get what you're saying, and I know he's shooting the free throws better, but Siakam was not the guy that I would expect nor wanted to get the ball. It was Halliburton, and he kind of went around Vermont in terms of trying to get close to the basketball and the inbounder and Nembhard right there. I thought that was worse than any of them.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument for that too, because initially he goes away from the ball as if he's kind of a little bit go towards the Pacers bench across the court, and then he tries to come, or I guess backtrack is could be the right word to use, but he comes towards it, but then he goes into that dead spot in the corner where now you effectively got 3 defenders on you. You got Drew Holiday, who absolutely consumes you. Then you got the baseline and the sideline, so you're pretty much dead in the water in that corner. So there's definitely an argument about that. But Siakam ultimately ended up having the most room to work with, and they just were unable to execute.
It's Eddie Gill, Pacers Radio Network, the former NBA guards with us. District Tap on the north side's our location. Miller Lite Carb Day tickets to give away. We're here with Miller Lite, Jeff, and our friends at District Tap. We have race day tickets to give away as well. My man Jimmy is alongside as well. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live if you want to watch what's going on here. All right, to foul or not to foul. The call was to foul. Siakam made that split-second decision that didn't have enough time, and he didn't. And I'm going to ask you this, and this could be just a wild-ass observation, but with that, and especially in these situations, they're tough in general, but certainly much tougher given the circumstances of last night. How does the gather and going up and, are you going into your shot or aren't you going into your shot? How does that play into the mind of these players with that rule now when they're trying to, in that situation, take a foul?
Well, I guess I'll back up a little bit. The play that they ran, they were able to. They set a screen. I can't remember who T.J. McConnell was guarding. I believe it was Derek White right there on the elbow. Yeah. And Siakam, Jaylen Brown wraps around him to go to the weak side corner. I think from a strategy standpoint, this is a question for the coaches. It doesn't look to me like they're trying to switch at all. Like that was not going to happen. So
they weren't. They weren't. You're right. Yeah.
Yes. So with that, now Siakam gets hit with the screen. So now he's 2 steps behind. There's, I believe, 3 seconds on the clock. So by the time he gets to Jaylen Brown over there, Jaylen Brown freezes him with a shot fake. And if he reaches in there and fouls, Jaylen Brown's going to shoot that ball, and now he's going to go to the free throw line and potentially, we've seen it happen before. Larry Johnson makes that shot, and he goes to the free throw line. It's a 4-point play. A lot has to happen right for you, but that is very much on the table. So Siakam reluctantly just gets into his space and says that, I can't foul this guy now because he's going to go to the free throw line. So there was no time for him to foul. Otherwise, he's going to go to the free throw line and everybody's going to kill him for fouling the 3-point shooter. Jaylen Brown pulls a rabbit out of the hat, the shot goes in, and the rest is history. But I think the biggest question is, do we, in that situation, consider switching? And now McConnell is attached to Jaylen Brown. He might not even be able to catch that basketball if McConnell switches out there and denies the ball in the corner.
No, I completely agree with that switching strategy. And the point that I was trying to make is that there's a fine line and, basically tenths of seconds between, inbounding. And if you're committing a foul, before it gets there, then you get to go shoot a free throw and get possession of the ball, which is a disaster. Or, you foul going up and he makes it, gets an extra shot. That's a disaster. It almost seemed like, once it got past maybe half a second or though, in the way that defensively the Pacers played it, Siakam decided to go with that, just kind of stand there, and Brown made that shot. It just kind of seems like it's becoming more difficult in the NBA, and not even in crunch circumstances like that, but just in general, to take a foul. And I thought that was one that was really interesting to break down with all the things that can go against you in that moment, obviously including Jaylen Brown making that three.
Yeah, that one there is pretty cut and dry for me. He just simply did not have time to foul him. He was 2 steps behind because he got hit by Derek White's screen. They weren't switching, so now he's trailing. And by the time he gets to Jaylen Brown's space, he's in the shot motion, and it's just too late.
Why do you not switch? Because defensively they switch all the time. They're switching all the time. Why do you not switch in that situation? What's the mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, that's a coach's question. That's not for me from a strategy standpoint. Maybe from a conceptually, maybe they're just saying, hey, off the ball, we're not switching. I'm speculating here, which I hesitate to do because I don't know. But some coaches they say, hey, we are going to switch in that particular situation. Some say, hey, we're just going to lock and trail and try to get in this guy's footsteps and meet the catch. And that was the strategy that they went with, and Siakam just wasn't there in time.
So Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I got to run after this one. I think this is true. You may disagree. I think the Pacers play with a great pace, and when they're clicking, it is a gorgeous, to me, brand of offensive basketball. But I think sometimes when asked to play focused in the half court because of the defense against them, or when they're asked to gear it down, that's, I think, when they struggle. Did we see that aspect come to light in certain situations last night, or again, was it just them being casual with the basketball, turning it over?
Yeah, with the turnovers, I think there were just brain freezes out there. The very first play of the game, Neesmith tries to make a post entry, and he throws it straight to Jaylen Brown, and then next thing you know, it's 12-0. Later in the game, Tyrese Halliburton is dribbling down the floor and just loses the ball. Literally with no pressure or nothing at all. He's probably done that in all of his basketball. Go back to middle school, he's probably done that 3 times in his lifetime. So it's just certain plays that were unforced turnovers, and again, to your original point, is very correctable. I think the Pacers have a great opportunity. I think maybe the biggest challenge of all is being able to have the mental fortitude to wipe this clean from your memory, because there is a lot of frustration surely in that locker room right now, as there should be. But how do you channel that frustration and disappointment into going into game 2 and beyond?
In closing, too, I know that Porzingis has had a fantastic season with the Celtics, but I'll be honest with you, I'm sick and tired of hearing about everybody around here telling me about it's like the return of Michael Jordan to 45 once he gets back. Oh, we got to hurry up and get some wins before Porzingis gets back. Who the hell cares? I guess I probably should care more than I do. I guess I don't look at him, especially coming off an injury, not playing since April. I don't look at that as significant, I think, as everybody else, because I think Horford gives them exactly what's necessary.
Well, yeah, no, I think, 2 things can be true. I think Porzingis is a difference maker, but Al Horford in his 17th year is looking more rejuvenated than ever. He had a big-time game for them last night, and he's had a nice playoff series run, and just has had a really good series, a really good season for this team. So I think Porzingis is definitely a difference maker. I think he's a much better rim protector than Horford is in terms of his length and what he's able to do. He stretches the floor a little bit more than Horford, even though Horford is plenty capable of knocking down 3-point shots. Porzingis will shoot them from about 28, 30 feet as well. So I would agree with you in the fact that it's not MJ coming back, but he's still going to move the needle for him.
I will say this: he gets Cornette and his twisted pretzel-looking ass out of the lineup and out of the rotation, so they'll probably like that. Because he was twisted last night a number of times. So, anyway, hey, I appreciate you, Eddie. We'll be listed coming up tomorrow night, game number 2. Thanks for jumping on here early this afternoon, man.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you guys.
It's Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline for the Pacer Radio Network, the former NBA guard. We did disagree on a lot of things there. I know everybody gets tired of my point with McConnell. I just think that your quickest player with the ball, to the ball, needs to be trying to get the ball. And if you're going to have that personnel out there, then Nembhard, I think, has to be out there to try to get the ball, too. To me, you have to have a different inbounder. All right, Renus VK of Ed Carpenter Racing. You're going to join us on the other side. 7th off coming up on Sunday, the 108th Indianapolis 500. Hey, don't go away. I've got a lot more for you. JJ is going to join us. Kevin Bowen, Kid Quill, Carb Day, all that and more. Again, live from the District Tap on the north side. Miller Lite Carb Day tickets and tickets to the race you can get up here and sign up on this Wednesday. We got a lot more regarding the Pacers and the Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. Don't go anywhere. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more...
Boy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
District Tap, North Side, Miller Lite, Carb Day, passes, race day, tickets to give away. All we need is you up here, so we've got a good crowd already. You guys better start working your way here. There's a lot of orange barrels in and around Indy with not a lot of people around the orange barrels, but that's cool. Up here, though, it's smooth sailing right now especially, so get your ass here. I want to see you. I also want to do this. We have a guest. I'll explain in a second, but I want to get your thoughts at 239-1070 coming up here about last night's game. I'm telling you, it sucked the ending. And it was all night me thinking about it. But I had a moment of clarity which really rarely comes to me a little bit earlier that I want to explain, and I want to see if you were to agree. So in a myriad of really bad situations that led to a really bad gag fest in a Game 1 loss in Boston last night, let's share together that moment of clarity at 239-1070 coming up in just a minute. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he's rolling out, I believe, 7th coming up on the grid, the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Our good friend Ed Carpenter is his boss. I can only imagine what he gets to hear on a daily, if not hourly basis. Had an interesting weekend, too, by the way. Renus VK joins us now. Hey, Renus, thank you for the time. How are you?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm doing very good, thanks.
That was one hell of a weekend that you had. You had some moments, didn't you? I mean, you really both ends of the spectrum, Renus, with the moments of oh wow to oh crap. You ever have a weekend like that?
I've never had a weekend like that, and I don't ever want to have one like that again. It went well in the end, but it was too much stress, not only for me, but for everybody that was cheering for me.
Yeah, and here's your emotional support guy right here. I'm telling you, you know what? It has to feel really good as an end result, though, that you got through all of that stuff and you feel good about where you're going to be for Sunday, right? So you got through it. That's a character builder, and you move on. Is that too much? I'm kind of laying it on thick.
No, I mean, starting 7th is a pretty good starting spot for the 500, and I mean, we have a fast car in the race, so I'm just excited for that, and I think we can really, we really have a shot at winning this thing.
Did you think the moment that you made contact with the wall, what was going through your head after you obviously, got back and you were thinking about what was forthcoming? What did you think about your chances, when you made contact?
Well, I mean, I thought the day was done. I thought we would have to do the last row shootout. But, well, luckily the team got the car back together, and we ended the day with a bang. In a good way, not the other bang.
Renus VK of VCRs on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, let's give some love to Renus, to those around you, your crew and those at ECR for getting you back out there, because you mentioned you thought you weren't going to be back out there, but getting you back out there and then obviously helping you get to a place where you think that is in play for you to be really fast on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, this was really a team. The team that made this possible, a team, real case of teamwork, and just a great job by the guys. I mean, couldn't have done it without them, but also I feel like this is the best ever pep talk you can give to the crew. So, I think everybody's ready for Sunday to do it the proper way.
It's funny, too. I'm assuming with the crew and with the driver, there has to be that ultimate Renus level of trust, and this is what I think a day like that builds, doesn't? I mean, you come out of one of the most difficult situations of your life, and then you're feeling good about going into practice on Friday, feel good about going into Sunday. That has to build the ultimate trust on your race team, does it not?
Oh, definitely. And, I mean, I haven't been as close with my crew as I have right now because of that moment, because of that day. So just, I mean, we had a little team building moment yesterday where, the whole crew came together and we just had a had a nice dinner together, and that's stuff during the month of May that builds throughout the whole season, and that just builds a good connection.
When Enrinas VK joins us from ECR, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. 7th coming up on Sunday, obviously that final practice day on Friday, which is Carb Day. We'll be out there live for that as well. Any advice that, and I know Ed very well, any incredible advice from Buddha from the mountaintop, from Ed Carpenter, your boss, when they were trying to put that thing back together on what to expect?
Well, Ed just told me that I was still a pretty good race car driver, and I just had to follow what I always did and what I've always done. And especially on Sunday, he asked me, like, if you need anything, he was on my timing set and playing team ball for today, but just, his goal is to help me do the best as possible.
Let's talk about your relationship with Ed Carpenter. And again, I know him and I like him very well. And if you want to try to make fun of him here, that is quite all right, because we'll carve out some time for you to do that. I think it makes it more enjoyable. But how is your relationship with Ed Carpenter, your boss at ECR?
We have a good relationship. He's, it's interesting when your team boss is also your teammate. So you gotta kind of watch out on the track. But no, it's nice to have him around, of course, on the ovals and especially the 500. And it's pretty cool to drive for a team as Carpenter Racing, where they also, especially Ed, is like the hometown hero. So it's cool to be a part of that.
When's the last time, I don't want to, maybe yelling is too strong. When's the last time that he was unhappy with you about something?
Well, I have to think back. Definitely my IndyCar debut when I basically put it in the wall twice on my first ever IndyCar race in Texas. He was pretty angry at me. And that was driver Ed. He was driving himself too, but he was. That's the kind of Ed you don't want to see too often.
Well, he's normally very quiet, very mild mannered, but in that particular moment, I guess not so much, right, Renus?
He didn't say too much, but he said enough to scare me. So.
Renus VK of ECR's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Well, I'm going to have him on later on this week, and I'm going to bring back up this conference. That's why I said if you kind of want to make fun of him, I think you'll understand. He won't mind if you want to. If you want to say a couple of things that maybe I can ask him later on this week, then fire away. We'll have some fun with it.
It's not too much. I think there's he actually sabotaged my race today at the IndyCar Community Day when we went to an elementary school. We had this little wheel kart race, and we're doing a little race. Christian Rasmussen, Ed Carpenter, and I. And I think I accidentally kicked Ed in the face while doing it, but he was a rough player in that. But I'll let that slide for now.
Well, you can't trust the dude, Renus. In a situation like that, you can't trust him.
That's true, but I gotta respect the boss.
Yes, you do. Renus VK's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You brought this up before I let you go. How does this compare, starting 7th, and what you have right now in a car, with your confidence level for Sunday? How does that compare with your recent history here at the 500? You feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, this is the car that I've had for several years right now, and it's as fast as it's always been. I think so far I've had the chance. I've had the car to win the 500 every time, it hasn't happened yet. But I think every time heading into the 500, I have the shot at winning the race. So I don't feel any different this year.
So Renus VK again, rolling off 7th. The starting grid coming up, the greatest spectacle in racing on Sunday. Anything in general you're going to be working on Friday, and obviously, hopefully, the weather stays away. But anything you kind of want to try to get work done wise on Friday, that last opportunity before Sunday.
Well, I mean, just getting a feel of the car and making sure everything's good for the race, and we're all happy. Of course, it's a 2-hour session, so we can do quite a lot of stuff. So, I mean, it's the last little rehearsal almost. So, we need to make sure everything's where we want it to be.
Yeah, he's got a boss that doesn't play fair when they're racing around away from IMS. That's, of course, ECR. Ed Carpenter Racing and Renus VK rolling off 7th coming up on Sunday. Kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, buddy, you're always a blast. Best of luck coming up on Sunday, and I'm sure we'll talk again here further down the road, man. Best of luck, and again, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Renus VK on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, James, I got to get Ed on either tomorrow or Friday, too. He was actually in studio when I was on 59, but I was in my living room when I was on 59 on Sunday. But we'll have to get Ed on sometime. I was trying really hard to get Renus to say some junk about him, but a really good employee, really good driver-boss relationship with Renus VK and Ed Carpenter. ECR. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. All right, back with you on the other side. Get you go ahead and line up at 239-1070 right now. All right, thoughts on last night's game? I mean, is that going to end up being the difference in legitimately the Pacers having a chance to win this series? Or do you expect them to come out tomorrow night looking and playing fairly close to the same? Get my thoughts on that coming up next. JJ, check that. I'm sorry. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. Kid Quill, Carb Day Entertainment coming at you bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Jeremiah Johnson joins us coming up at 5. And again, District Tap on the north side. Miller Lite brings us to you with your opportunity. Miller Lite Carb Day passes, race day tickets as well. North side, District Tap would love to see you here. Your thoughts and mine regarding late game lack of execution and gag time for the Pacers in Boston last night. Coming at you, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You love spring and indies, so don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Mike did. He called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and
with JMV.
It takes him a second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
District Tap, thank you for joining us. Miller Lite Carb Day Friday. We've got Carb Day passes to give away for you. We got Race Day passes to give away for you. Hey, man, I'll tell you what. If you got that ice cold Miller Lite over there, oh, yeah, I'll take that right here. I drank this in like 5 seconds, seriously. Jimmy's sitting right next to me, and he saw me drink this in literally 5 seconds here. No, seriously, Northside District Tap got your chance to win those passes. 24 winners in all. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that more than you know. And while you're here, some ice cold Miller Lite, maybe some great food. Jeff will talk to us, I'm sure, from the District Tap a little bit later on. I just really want to see you. You can join us. Pacers incredibly disappointing last night. I mean, really, people say it was a gut punch, and I'm sure that's the way that it felt. I was pissy last night too, but I'm not trying to give you at all a glass half full interpretation of last night in comparison to the rest of the series, but I'm here to tell you these dudes aren't going to go away. That may very well have cost them any chance at legitimately winning the series. Because last night, when you think about it, that's why I said to Eddie Gill, I thought you're going to look back at that Jaylen Brown shot, and that's going to be, if Boston moves on, that's going to be a signature moment and something that you may look at as being the difference between moving on and not. That's how big that was. But I don't think this team is going to go away at all. And for anybody that suggests that the Celtics came out sluggish after 6 days off, bull crap. Boston looked really good. They put up big numbers like they normally do. They want to run, but they haven't run like the Pacers. I'm not trying to tell you away pom-poms or anything, and I'm not trying to tell you that last night wasn't bad, because it was. I just don't happen to think blue and gold are going anywhere. And I think you're going to see that coming up tomorrow night as well. So we shall get your thoughts at 239-1070. That is coming up next, live from the District Tap. Kevin Bowen's going to join us in the morning show. He's out at Colts OTAs. And Anthony Richardson is back with no restrictions. We'll talk to Kevin about that. Last night's late game debacle and then some. District Tap, Northside, Miller Lite Carb Day tickets and Race Day tickets to give away as well. Love to see you on this Wednesday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them with the skills they'll need to succeed in the real world?
With JMV.
Here's Johnny. Don't. David Letterman.
Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Ball comes in from the far side near the hash. Shepard got it in. One bounce Halliburton. He leans in. Brown played him beautifully. But he hit the three anyway. From the left side, it hit the glass, the rim, back to the glass, and it went in. Boy, that was a fortuitous development. Brown had him smothered. I'm surprised he even got it away. Never mind, made it.
No question. Had him gobbled up.
Boyle, Eddie Gill, thank you for joining us on the call last night. Eddie Gill a little bit earlier. We had a lot of disagreements on some things, and certainly he would know because he played, and I sit around here with my thumb up my rear end and act like he can play. So there's a huge difference there. But I do want to get in more of that with you coming up as well. Renus VK a little bit earlier. He was fun. I'll get Ed on this show before the end of the week. District Tap. If you're tuning in to the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, you can watch me drink this ice-cold Miller Lite. Join us. I'll see you inside the AAA Membership Lounge YouTube Live to see what you have to say there as well. But we've got Miller Lite Carb Day passes to give away, race day tickets to give away. Sienna told me that 24 winners in all will be chosen here. So my advice to you is to hustle ass up here to the north side. I know it's a Wednesday. I don't want to hear you whining. I've slept literally like 2 hours this week, and I probably will sleep 0 hours this weekend. I will, on Sunday morning with Tony Katz doing the pre-race show, I'll look like Tony Montana when in Scarface he stuck his face into that mountain of cocaine. That's exactly what I'm going to look like. I was talking to Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, a little bit earlier today, and I said, hey, if you and Gorman really want to put money on when I'm going to end up having a stroke or a heart attack, this weekend, I think, would be your greatest odds. So be ready. Yeah, last night is enough to do it to you. That gag job late, we talked about that. Things that could have gone better personnel-wise, the whole defensive switching. Maybe utilizing McConnell personnel-wise, McConnell being out there and not having Miles on the other end being in Siberia basically and having no effect when you're clearly difficult to get the ball in bounds and you're about ready to inbound the ball to, at least for the postseason, the worst free throw shooter that the Pacers have. The curious paths in which Tyrese Halliburton decided to take to get to the basketball was also something that you brought up. But I also, on the other hand, brought this up. On the other hand, I told you this. Pacers aren't going away. I know that last night may have cost them any legitimate chance to win it and to move on to the NBA Finals, which would be absolutely incredible. But these fellas aren't going away. Boston, you took a significant punch from the Celtics. There was no downtime. That 6-day layoff didn't do much for the Celtics. They looked very Celtics-like. But no difference. And it was a struggle. Pacers are in this thing for the long haul. If you want to look at it glass half full, and I'm not telling you should because you're probably still pissy about last night, but if you want to, you certainly can. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, I'm sure they discussed that this morning. He's at OTAs with the Colts right now, Kevin Bowen. Kevin joins us. How did Anthony Richardson look?
He looked fine. If you wouldn't have, unless you knew he had shoulder surgery in October, I don't think you'd walk out of the practice field and be like, oh, yeah, that guy looks like he's rusty or, whatever. He's rehabbing a bunch, and the throwing motion looks different. So, some good, some bad. I thought he looked perfectly fine in terms of you wouldn't think anything of it unless, you really knew something was up with him.
Any playmaking go on out there that at least for late May would be significant to Colts fans' interest?
Yeah, he had one big play down the sideline to Kylan Granson where, just his arm, Gardner Minshew and I guess Matt Ryan, insert other quarterbacks here, not sniffing that sort of play. So, again, his ability to get out of the pocket, his ability to extend, albeit in a red jersey, that certainly is going to be a huge element to the Colts that they have lacked in recent years. He had one interception in a 7-on-7 drill that was just threw a ball behind Mo Alley Cox, and certainly not a throw that a throw he would certainly want to have back, I should say. So, but yeah, usually that highlight was the Granson play, and again, more than anything, the fact that he's back and participating, and there appears to be no restrictions on his workload this time of year, back-to-back days, all of that. That's the most important stuff.
You think he can wear a red jersey during the season? Will they allow that?
Yeah, that would be nice, right? He was asked the question of, do you need to change your playing style, anything like that? And, he feels like that does not need to happen. And,
he's not changing his playing style, no. Yeah, you're right.
No, and I would largely agree with him. I've used the phrase before that I think you limit some of the design runs, but not eliminate it. Just having that threat is still going to do a ton for your football team and for your offense. And you saw the big Zach Moss touchdown last year, for example, right up the middle. Largely, I think that play turns from 4-6 yards into 56 yards because guys are worried about Richardson running it. So, again, that's probably a bigger topic for, when the season gets closer. But, yeah, Anthony himself does not feel like his playing style should or will change.
Kevin Bowen Morning Show was just at Colts OTAs. Of course, 7 until 10 a.m. here in Indy. He and Swebo together. Coming at you again tomorrow morning. Tell you what, Kev, a familiar voice has just joined us right here. Cam, is the microphone hot for our familiar voice? Familiar voice, say hello to Kev.
Hello, Kevin Bowen. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. How are you, brother? Good, Jimmy. I forgot you were going to be a district tap today.
I'm here. I have a Colts question for you and Pacers hot take. I'll start with the Pacers. Okay. Pacers in 6. I'm keeping the faith, Kevin. I'm still optimistic. I like the way we played last night, minus the turnovers, obviously. But my Colts question for you, what are your expectations this year? I'm a University of Miami football guy. I don't know if you remember that or not. What are your expectations this year for Will Mallory?
Well, first, I didn't know. On tap today, the district tap was a glass a half full. I think Pacer Nation needed that, good Jimmy, so thank you for that. Mallory, I think, is a really interesting name. I think somebody in that tight end room has got to emerge. I thought he actually had a few moments late last year that were intriguing to me. Obviously, local fans know the Mallory last name from a football standpoint. He is indeed from that family. But, again, someone in that room, Jimmy, has just got to, I think, step forward. Actually, today I thought, I mentioned Kylan Granson earlier. I actually thought Jelani Woods had a couple catches. So I know as a staff they're really high on Mallory, and I do think he's a name that I'd like to see a little bit more from.
Good question, Jimmy. Jimmy's hanging out with us right here. Kevin Bowen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Last night, Kev, incredibly pissy was I, basically all night long, for the opportunity that was absolutely blown. Where do we start with the late regulation meltdown? Brain freezes, personnel-wise, coaching thoughts, lack of execution. I know it's all of the above, but where do you begin?
Yeah, I'd probably start with the turnovers, just the self-inflicted nature to them. It's not like whatever. It was some great trap by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and their length bothers you and you turn it over. No, it's dribbling off your leg. It's dribbling out of bounds. It's, the decision to throw the ball into a guy that seemingly hasn't hit a foul shot all postseason and not taking a timeout, maybe not having your best foul shooters out on the floor. And then obviously the decision, not to foul up 3. My bigger issue that play was more on, I thought you should have switched everything. If you're going to foul, and that was the Pacers' plan, they wanted to foul there, then switch everything. Make sure guys are, your defenders are stuck like glue. Height doesn't matter. Making sure Siakam is on Jaylen Brown isn't necessarily what matters. It's just, have TJ McConnell switch there. Make that pass for Drew Holiday much tougher. Drew Holiday should not be able to make that pass across the court like that. So, yeah, that's probably where, I'd say kind of laying out the blame. You start with the careless turnovers, the self-inflicted nature to it. And then I thought, a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of inbounding it and, how you defended up 3 there under your own basket.
Hey, Kev, man, they switch defensively everything most of the time anyway, and for them not to do it on that particular play, that particular moment, is just more than head-scratching to me.
Yeah, and Siakam, said it afterwards, John. I thought, he's like, I got there late. Well, when you get there late, what does that mean? The pass has already gotten there, so that was no issue for Jaylen Brown. And I thought at that point, Brown, he kind of caught it on the left side. He could then, get it into more of a, right side shooting pocket, if you will. And sure, eventually Siakam challenges him, but still, you just allow for the pass and the initial, shot to actually take place. And, if you're able to have a guy there, I think more than anything, what it does, it probably just deflects that ball out of bounds, or certainly makes it a lot tougher. And now, again, Boston with no timeouts left is inbounding it from a very unfavorable position and all of that. So, yeah, the no switching is what bothered me probably more than the decision itself.
Kev, let's face it, too. Jaylen Brown hit slop, just kind of like, although it was more slop to end the third, what Tyrese Halliburton hit against Jaylen Brown defensively. But it was slop. I guess the thing, outside of, give the foul, why didn't you? He should have, he could have, and all this we're talking about. I go back to the inbound, and first of all, I think you got to have McConnell on the floor. He's going to be your quickest guy, to me, to get to the ball. And him not being out there, and then have him, if Nembhard's inbounding it, and then you have Miles basically in Vermont where he was down the floor, I just didn't really understand what they were trying to do with relative ease to inbound the ball. It should be a hell of a lot easier than that.
Yeah, and I feel like as soon as Nembhard, and his body language told you everything, as soon as he started to panic a little bit, and, hell, he almost crossed over the line there, and it got to like 3 seconds, whatever, 3.5 seconds, go ahead and take the timeout and regroup. And, yeah, you can't advance it at that point, but still you're able to, draw something up or, hell, insert somebody into the game. And, yeah, I mean, I honestly thought maybe McConnell to inbound it was a thought that kind of had crossed my mind there. I mean, I'd probably rather have Nembhard shooting free throws than Siakam shooting free throws. If you're talking about, the best personnel on the floor for you free throw-wise there. So that's probably another avenue to explore. And, I mean, there are so many things on that play. If you want to get nitpicky, I mean, running to the ball, I thought if Siakam kind of comes a little bit more to McConnell, or to Nembhard, and not necessarily running towards the baseline, then Jaylen Brown has to go through him. And certainly Brown grabbed some jersey there. But if Brown goes through you body-wise, there's no way they don't call that in that sense there. It's just, again, just such elementary stuff. I mean, it's just rare to see NBA teams have the amount of issues the Pacers did in the final, few, seconds. And really in regulation, I thought you had some carelessness as well. I thought an underrated play, and I love Aaron Nesmith's hustle. I thought an underrated play was him committing that foul for his sixth. I know it's easier said than done, but that's one I think you just kind of follow the Jason Tatum layup, stay in the game, because when him off the floor, you saw Nembhard and McConnell pretty disastrous trying to guard him, and that was a huge 3-point and one that Tatum got there in overtime as well. I thought that was an underrated play.
So Kevin Bowen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Hotline. Meanwhile, we talk about the end game and the gag or the choke or whatever, but I've mentioned this. I am not as down on this team. They're not going anywhere, because a lot of people, Kev, have suggested that it was going to be tough for Boston to get back after 6 days of a layoff, and they looked really good to me. And the Pacers matched, if not surpassed, a lot of what they did. They go to zone clearly because they were struggling guarding, and we'll probably see a lot more zone, I would expect, coming up tomorrow night out of them too, because a team that plays incredibly fast and a team over the course of the season that has been good defensively, they're going to look for answers because they don't want to be dictated that style. Even if it does benefit them most days, it doesn't benefit them against this Pacer team.
Yeah, I think it was really a shame, John, because there's so much good. In particular, just go back to the final 5 minutes of that game. Like, it wasn't – I mean, obviously, Siakam had that, 3 or 4 possession stretch where he was really, really good. But, when you think about it, Nebhard, big play is there late regulation. Neesmith, big plays. Halliburton, of course. I mean, Turner was outstanding with his shot making. Certainly Siakam as well. Like, with 5 minutes to go, it was like a tie game. Both starters go in the game. I'm thinking, all right, here you go. I mean, you've taken the punches, you've punched back, but, are you going to be able to, out half-court offense, because that's kind of what the final few minutes is usually like, a team with a bunch of all-stars on it. And, for the most part, they did that until, obviously peeing down their leg over the final 30, 40 seconds. So, to your point about optimism, there is so much of it there. It's just it's hard in a 7-game series against a very legit opponent who could have a key guy back, at the middle part of this series, to sit here and celebrate the moral victory aspect of it so much, because these opportunities, aren't, they don't grow on trees. I think the Pacers will create opportunities, but still, they're not a given. And, if you look at Boston's psyche last night, I mean, Jaylen Brown, that dude was pissed post-game. And I think the fact that they've lost these last 2 game twos, it probably helps them out, honestly, to get a little refocused. Most teams would probably, breathe this huge sigh of relief and then be right for the picking in game 2. I'm curious how Boston will react to that, given the fact that they just lost a game 2 to Miami and lost a game 2 to Cleveland as well.
I look at those differently, though, Kev. I thought that there was more Boston and more half-assing in both Cleveland and Miami game 2s than what they had to overcome last night. And listen, if the Pacers don't end up shooting it well and go down in that fashion, okay. But I don't think, and this may help them out more. Miles said it after the game last night that, their inexperience was costly in how they didn't take care of the basketball. But their inexperience may be good tomorrow night, because if you have experience and you got kicked in the nuts like that, that's probably going to be tough to come back from. But they don't have that experience, and coming back and getting back to basketball after that disappointment may, to me, be exactly what's necessary for this group. Maybe I have way too much trust, but I think I've watched them enough that I expect them to come back hard, exactly how they played in that particular game. And here's the other aspect. I will welcome Kristaps Porzingis back. That guy hadn't played since April. Can you imagine him jumping in to this up and down game atmosphere? I mean, with his rim protection and whatever. That's going to take a lot more time than I think anybody out there realizes.
Yeah, I'm not overly optimistic that Porzingis is going to come in and give them whatever, to your point, normal him, 30 quality minutes, whatever. But, I mean, Luke Cornett was awful last night for them. And, Horford had some major issues on the defensive end of the floor. So it's not like they got great, play from that big man position at all. So that's just what I think is this is a team in Boston that they don't turn to a lot of liabilities. And in New York, you got that. Again, the Pacers have been such a staple in responding, and I expect them to respond. It's just the margin for error shrinks when you have an opportunity like that and it doesn't go your way. Because, if you're Boston, you're sitting there, and we're so used to the Pacers protecting home floor, and they've done it so well for the last 2 months. Boston would counter and say, well, we're 4-0 in the playoffs on the road. And granted, the Pacers are certainly much better than, a banged-up Cleveland team or a banged-up Miami team. But that, I think, is the difficulty, to sit here and just kick your feet up and think, oh, no, you're going to get other games and you're going to be able to win this series. That opportunity to lose it last night on the road when you had it just sitting on a platter. I mean, hell, I had my brother text me this morning, like, wait, they lost? Now, I mean, he was an idiot to go to bed with 10 seconds to go, but, like, I mean, it's just kind of a shocking nature of, wow, NBA teams don't blow leads with the ball like that in, under a minute, under 30 seconds to play.
Ryan Bowen went to bed with 10 seconds remaining.
Went to bed with 10 seconds. Let me see if I can read the exact text. I went to bed with 10 seconds to go once Tatum fouled the Pacers. Cannot believe I'm waking up to see they lost. I rolled over at 2 a.m. and had 40 unread texts from my fantasy golf friends. Nothing like a fantasy golf league. And he goes, that was a clue that something happened. Yeah.
Ryan Bowen, I'm disappointed. I really am. Pacers game 2 in Boston coming up tomorrow night of the Eastern Conference Finals. That's Kevin Bowen on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The way that you look at it here, I mean, Tatum had 36. It struggled a lot of the game, but ended up with 36. Holiday, 28. Brown, the game winner, in 26. I mean, that's basically what Boston does. And the Pacers were right there and were that late game gag job away from winning that. Again, maybe I'm showing more confidence in their fortitude here moving forward tomorrow night and beyond, but it didn't look like a Boston team that was suffering from any hangover or layoff or was getting set for the finals or anything like that. That seemed like a Boston team that played the way they normally do offensively and fought for its ass late in that game last night.
Yeah, I thought Tatum had some struggles until overtime. He's had some struggles really in the postseason. But, I mean, Holiday, you can make the case that was the best game Holiday's had all season long, I think, if you talk to Boston people about it. I mean, hell, the dude had, 20 – what'd you say? I mean, he had like 28.
Yeah, 28. Like he was 50% from three. He was 10 of 16 from the floor, and you're right about that when you mix that in. But, again, Kev, you're a late-game stratospherical meltdown away from the Celtics being down 0-1. Look what it took for the Celtics to survive that.
Right. Yeah. Again, I mean, Holiday he was outstanding. He was incredible. Defending Halliburton on top of all that. So, I mean, that's something that you don't expect. So, I want to just be chugging good Jimmy's glass half full. It's just in these series, just the ebbs and flows and the nature to it. Squandering opportunity like that, I just feel like that's tough to all of a sudden say, hey, you're going to win 4 out of 6 now against the number one team.
I'm not suggesting that, but to think that they're going to piss off and blow this series and get blown out is I think ridiculous.
Oh, I'd be stunned and frankly extremely disappointed if they somehow lost in 4, lost in 5, something like that. And that aspect I would be shocked by. And again, this team, and I mean you pointed this out very accurately. This team has been defined by their ability to respond and fight all year long. Hell, they showed it last night. I mean, how many times do you see a team, down double digits in the first half, claw all the way back, then get down double digits in the second half, claw all the way back, and I mean, hell, in overtime. I mean, the Pacers had plenty of moments where you thought they were going to win the game. I mean, I think everybody, if you would have froze the game at the end of regulation, you would have said, oh, yeah, Boston's going to win this by 10 now. And Indiana outplayed Boston for, really, I think until Neesmith fouled out, I thought that was such a critical play. And then Tatum kind of went off. I mean, he was going off already, but he had, I think, 6 straight points, I want to say, after Neesmith fouled out there. So, I do think this is kind of going to be one of the ultimate challenges of defining more of that response in that fight, but they've done it all year long. Obviously, they did it in Game 2s of both of these first series, and I am ready. I mean, hell, I wish Game 2 was tonight, although my heart could probably use Game 2 having an off night.
Yeah, it is brutal. There's no doubt. The end result was so brutal. But I have been right about Turner. I've been right about McConnell. And I'm going to be right about this, too. When everybody was kind of talking down Siakam, I said, hey, chill out. Hold on. He's still good. So I think a lot of people should better start listening to my my basketball knowledge a little bit here. Don't you think? What the hell?
Well, I think Chad Buchanan was giving you some praise earlier this week, wasn't he?
Damn straight, he better. I had to get him in a damn chokehold. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I need is a shot of tequila right there. Thank you very much when I'm talking to Kevin Bowen. But, yeah, look, they sent out the offer sheet for DeAndre Ayton. Can you imagine? And I know Halliburton's going to make anybody good, right? Because that's just how good he is. But yeah, DeAndre Ayton's not going to step out and knock down 27-foot jumpers. I will tell you this. If J.J. Redick gets that Lakers job, J.J. Redick is going to come hard after some Pacers because he's got a sports arousal over some of these guys on this Pacer team. You watch if Redick gets a gig, especially with L.A., kind of wonder how hard they may come after some Pacers.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you saw the clip of him and LeBron talking about the role player. I mean, he loves McConnell, has always loved him. But, I major hat tip to Turner last night. I mean, his shot making huge, and again, we'll see how effective Porzingis is if and when he gets back. But that's a must for him and Siakam to continue to take advantage of that. Because I do think, there are moments where Boston's like, wait, should we put Holiday on Siakam? And in an ideal world, they would not do that. They would survive with a Jaylen Brown or a Horford, and that wasn't working there in the fourth quarter.
So Kevin Bowen right there. Kid Quill. I'm going to talk to him next. Do you know who Kid Quill is?
Some sort of musician, right?
He's a rapper from Shelbyville. Played soccer at DePaul for Brad Hodder, who does with Greg Rakestraw the India 11 matches and games, whatever. And soccer guy get all over me about that. But, he played there, and he's going to open up Carb Day coming up on Friday.
Look at that. Well, I don't think there's many people that check the box of Shelbyville, DePaul, soccer turned rapper there. That is quite the resume there. Nice.
Pretty damn impressive right there. I think it is. All right, what do you and Sweebo and his sweet red beard got going on tomorrow morning?
We're opening the phone lines at 8 a.m. for Indy 500 advice for Andy Sweeney losing the old V card coming up this weekend. So I know you and Jake have taken your turns at it, as I have. We will open up the phone lines. We need Andy Sweeney, Indy 500 Card Day, and or Indy 500 advice.
Oh, really? So he's not going to make it, brother. That's not happening. I can't. Then he better drink the ice-cold Miller Lite, and he better obviously hit the sponsor if you have a sponsor, and he better wear some diapers because there's no way this dude from northern Kentucky with his red beard is going to stand in a trough and not get stage fright. He'll have to hold it for 12 hours.
They're gonna be raking the bunker at Brickyard Crossing Saturday morning, and they're gonna find Sweebo in the ninth grade bunker there, aren't they?
Sweebo will not be able to squeeze out a drop at the trough. No way. So, all right, James is yelling at me to break. James, hey, does Dykton yell at you guys? I'm going to punch James in the face one of these days. He just yells at me all the time.
James puts up with one of the worst clock managers known to man. So that's you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. We'll see you out there on Carb Day. We'll go ahead and sweep up wherever Sweebo might be on Carb Day. All right?
We will set the pace and let you take it home like you always do so well.
Roger, brother. Appreciate that. Thanks, Kev.
See you, John.
It's Kevin Bowen. Get to your calls coming up on the other side. District Tab, Miller Lite, Carb Day passes, and race day tickets to give away while we're here. So join us. Kid Quill, the pride of Shelbyville, Indiana. Kid Quill is going to be at Carb Day. He's going to open up things for the Gin Blossoms and for George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Kid Quill joins us. Jeremiah Johnson, top of the hour. Hey, stay right there. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Introducing Now. Reliable internet with unlimited data for $30 a month, all in. No commitments, no hidden fees. Now that's calming.
The Ride with JMV.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Now go away.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
District Tap is our location, north side. Miller Lite Carb Day passes to hand out. Race Day tickets to give you as well. We get a lot of Pacer reaction from game number 1. Oh, that massive disappointment. I'm not trying to suggest they're going to win the series. I'm just telling you, if you believe they're going to go away, you're wrong. There's no moral victory out of last night. That was brutal. But hearing people think that they're going to fade, and you heard Kevin and we disagree. I don't give two craps if Porzingis comes back, when he comes back, or nothing. I could be proven wrong. I don't care. I thought Horford was good last night. At least good for what they need. Jeremiah Johnson, top of the hour. Bally Sports, Indiana. He did Pacers Radio Network last night. He was in for Pat Boylan. Fever on the road in Seattle. I think that's on 13 tonight, and I would guess that's what Pat Boylan is doing with the Fever on the road. Cam's the on-site engineer. James back at the studio and on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You heard it. Miller Lite Carb Day coming at you on Friday. That was the Gin Blossoms and Hey Jealousy. George Thorogood and the Destroyers a part of it. And the pride of Shelbyville, Indiana, and a Shelbyville Golden Bear. He was coached, and I got to hear about this, playing soccer at DePaul, evidently by Brad Hodder. Kid Quill is going to lead off on Carb Day on Friday, and he joins us now. Kid Quill, welcome to the show. Should I call you Kid or Quill? What do you want me to do here?
You can call me. You can either call me Q or you can call me Mitch. Either one, man.
I'm gonna call you Q. I'm gonna call you Q. It's Kid Quill is with us. So Brad Hodder as a coach at DePaul for soccer. You were a soccer star. Where would you rank him among the hierarchy of your great coaches?
Well, I don't know if I was a star. I tried my best, but I rank him number 2. My dad coached me in AAU basketball, so it's hard to beat out number 2. Or hard to beat out number 1.
It is, man. I heard that you're a multi-sport athlete at Shelbyville, and that warms my heart because we're into an era now where you don't get a lot of multi-sport athletes. Was soccer when you were in high school? Q, was that your best?
Soccer was definitely my best. I played basketball until I was a sophomore, and then I didn't grow until I graduated. I was just short, hard to get a shot up. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something that's a little more fun, play some soccer.
Now, I think you were all conference. How many different times, I believe, in soccer at Shelbyville?
I think every year I was eligible to play. I broke my leg my freshman year. So I think sophomore, junior, senior, I was in there, man.
This is Kid Quill. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Kid Quill's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You watched the Pacers last night?
I was just about to ask you. When I got on, I heard you talking about it, and we were in our Airbnb watching it. Man, it hurt. It actually was heartbreaking, dude.
It was brutal. We sat around that entire game. They played well.
Up. Yeah. Like there was a moment I was standing up, and I was like, "What are they gonna say now?" Ain't no one hurt. And then, we haven't got calls, and then we threw that inbound pass, and I was like, I should have shut up. I shouldn't have said anything.
We're on the same page. That's why I don't like sending anything out via social media, because you may end up eating that in 35 seconds or so. What? So wait a minute. Your quote was, "What are they going to say now?" I can see it.
That's right. Yeah, I was standing up and yelling, man.
Oh,
but
me
dude,
too. I was just at home in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah. After watching the game, though, I think we have everything to be proud about. We're like a young nucleus, man. We're not we're ahead of schedule.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. It is extremely hard to think about that and to talk about that the day after a game and how it ended and how they melted down. But no, you're right. And that's why I suggest to everybody out there who believes they're going to go away, going to fade away, that you're going to be wrong. Because these guys play. And I fully expect them to come out tomorrow night and play extremely hard in game 2 as usual.
Yep. They got heart, man.
It's Kid Quill is going to open up on Carb Day. We call him Q from Shelbyville High School. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline in DePaul. Hey, by the way, you must have had the grades, too. You don't just get into DePaul, do you? If you're good at soccer,
Dude,
you have some good grades?
Honestly, I don't know what it is, but school was easy to me, man. It was just easy to me.
What?
I wish I could be like, yeah, man, I was a good student. I feel like I retain information, if that makes sense.
Well, that's probably what makes you a really good rapper, right? Because that's what you got to do, and you got to have it flow from your head to your mouth and get it out there. Is that what makes you a great rapper?
Maybe. I mean, honestly, I do like, I just try to draw inspiration from everyday life. Like, and I genuinely love being home. Like, I've spent the whole day down in Shelbyville right now seeing my parents and, like, shooting a couple things. But, like, I just, like, try to pick up on, like, memories and then write about how they made me feel. That's kind of the whole – so maybe that is why. You might have just found my secret sauce, man.
Maybe so. Kit Quill joins us. When did you first start enjoying or wanting to be a rapper? Did you start writing rhymes really early in life?
I would do some poetry for fun here and there. The crazy thing is, man, growing up, I really liked math more than I liked English. It wasn't until I got to college and then after my sophomore year of college soccer, I was missing practices to kind of go to the studio and, do shows and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? It's not fair to my teammates to kind of just not be here. So I stopped doing it, started writing music when I was in college. And then once I graduated, I started taking it serious.
So Kid Quill's going to open up Miller Lite Carb Day coming up on Friday out at IMS. Where do you take your inspiration? You mentioned in writing lyrics, inspiration to being home and certainly what you enjoy and where you're comfortable. But who inspired you growing up to want to get to where you are right now as a rapper?
I mean, honestly, man, I grew up my dad has very eclectic music taste. Like growing up, he would be in the car playing Young Jeezy, and then the next song would be a Stones song. And so, it was always kind of in the house, but not, in, a classical way. It was always, very eclectic. But when I got into it, man, I just had, a plethora of artists that I just, looked up to. And I would just listen to them all the time. And then I fell in love with their, artistry. And I was like, man, I want to give this a shot. And then once I started it, it was kind of – I just fell in love all over again.
If you're going to listen to something, though, when you were growing up, what would it have been?
Probably John Mellencamp.
Really?
John Mellencamp or Lil Wayne. One of the two. I had a whole iPod when I was in high school that had only Lil Wayne songs, and then I had an iPod that had everything else. And it's funny because last time I was home was in February playing the All-Star. I played the concert for the All-Star game, and I opened for Lil Wayne, and it was full circle moment there. I wanted to tell him so bad, but I never got to meet him.
So what's your favorite Mellencamp song?
That's tough, Doc. So I don't know if you knew this. Did you know that my mom grew up in Seymour?
No, I did not. I just knew you were from Shelbyville, and that's where you – so would your mom – because I think everybody that grew up in Seymour had – stories about Mellencamp since that's his hometown as well. Does your mom?
Yeah, I think he and my aunt went to high school. I think my aunt was in his parade.
When's your mom? Your mom went to Seymour High School?
Yeah.
All right. What year did she get out?
That is a great question, my friend. She got out in the 80s. She's young. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to.
Yeah, we're both.
Trying to be like, Mom, you are young.
We are both
no,
very young.
Small town. just because, I've been to Seymour a lot to see family, and I understand, the inspiration behind the song and stuff.
Understand. It's Kid Quill. We're calling him Q. He's going to open up at Carb Day. How's that make you feel? You're going to be in front of everybody at IMS. I'm assuming a place you know very well from the past. You grew up around here. How's it feel to open up Miller Lite Carb Day on Friday?
It's one of those just like full circle moments. I've been every single year, because the media blackout, like, we would go down to Seymour and watch the race, and like to now kind of be a part of it in a small way. I mean, it's just like super dope. I mean, there's not much more you can ask for, Hopefully I can come back in a few years and headline it though. That's the goal.
That'd be awesome. Now, are you out on tour at all right now?
No, we just got back from Australia 2 weeks ago. We had a show out there, and then just kind of hunkering down and just putting out music to go tour off of, working on the album. Just kind of in a creative spot right now.
Is your home base Southern California?
Yeah, I moved out there right during the pandemic, man. Yep.
Man, I'm really happy for you, because I'm always happy for people that have, this incredible dream and something that they love so much that, they'll fully involve themselves into it. And I think that adequately describes you, does it not?
I mean, it's scary, dude. I mean, you got to just jump off the deep end, man. Sometimes you got to jump in to swim is one of my favorite lyrics from someone I look up to. You got to just go. I mean, you got to fall on your face a few times. You know what I mean? I think. Hey,
do you have any lyrics or rhymes about Shelbyville or about Indiana at all? You got anything?
Oh yeah, I have a song called "Kids in the Summer" that I wrote about growing up here, and then I actually have a song called Indiana.
Well, can we hear a couple of lines from it?
When the brakes don't stop and the sun's too hot and your nights don't rock and roll, where are you gonna go? And talking about back home. Back home again in Indiana. Dude,
I like it.
You know what I'm most excited about?
What's that?
Is I got people that, I work with from Southern California that are here, working the show with me. And they've never been to the race, and I'm, like, sitting there trying to, like, explain it to them, and I'm like, you don't understand. It's, like, the biggest single-day sporting event. Like, it's probably not going to hit for you, but wait till the flyover and, like, they sing back home again. You know what I mean? I'm just
That's awesome,
for
man.
people that aren't from here to experience it.
That's a great story. Hey, I got to run here, but how'd you come up with Kid Quill? What's the inspiration there?
My middle name's Quillen.
Well, so your first name's Mitch?
Yep. Mitchell.
Well, that's outstanding. Mitchell. Hey, Mitchell, I want to have you on again because there's a lot more time we could share.
We got to talk basketball.
I find you. Yes. Why don't you come back on the show, would you?
Yeah, dude, I would love to come on and break down the game because I am an avid basketball fan. I understand tactics. I am a Pacers fanatic, though.
I tell you what, I am out at Carb Day Friday, and I start at 3. So if you got a minute and you can roll over there and come on really quick before you go get things underway, I'd love to have you. If you're, oh, do you? Well, or come over afterwards. As long as you may have to take over the show if I get too drunk. So that's the other thing too. But
let's take a shot together and talk Pacers. How about that?
Well, hey, you had me at let's take a shot together. That's well done, man.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I just want to say I appreciate everything you do for the local scene. You're a good guy.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, you stay in touch. I tell you what, stay on hold. And James will get your information, and we'll make sure that we get together somehow on Carb Day and on race day, too. How about that?
Cool. Yep. Sounds good, brother. Take it easy.
That is Kid Quill from Shelbyville, Indiana, and DePaul University. He's awesome. I like talking to him. He's going to open up Miller Lite Carb Day. That's coming up on Friday. We got tickets to give away. Courtesy of Miller Lite here today, the District Tap on the north side. Kid Quill. Mitchell Quillen. That's his middle name, Quillen. Quick break. We'll come back. JJ, top of the hour. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
If you love spring and Indy but hate the paint, do what Lynn did.
Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
District Tap, thank you for joining us. Miller Lite Carb Day passes we have and tickets to the race. Get a sign up to win while you're here. Kid Quill is going to lead Miller Lite Carb Day coming up on Friday. He's from Shelbyville, Indiana. He was just on the show. I really enjoyed it. So, what do you say, Young Jeezy and Mellencamp? Cam? It's in his wheelhouse right there. Basketball player, soccer star from Shelbyville, and played at DePaul. Soccer. Has been in Australia, staked out in Southern California, and he'll be leading things off again. Miller Lite Carb Day, which we have passes for, that's coming up on Friday. Hey, tomorrow's show, our first deck tour stop is going to be awesome. Going to be out off of Eagle Creek. Rick's Boatyard tomorrow. I'll tell you more coming up. Me and Brent Halverson together. Meantime, top of the hour, Jeremiah Johnson, Bally Sports, Indiana. The late game debacle, and where do the Pacers go from here? Well, it's game 2. Talk about that and more coming up next. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them with the skills?
Sports.
The Ride with JMV.
Son, you got a panty on your head. You drive fast, eh?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
10 seconds to go. Pacers inbound from the side, leading by 3. Nembhard almost couldn't get it in, and he threw it away. He tried to get it to Siakam on the baseline. Siakam couldn't handle it. Boston has it with 8.5 seconds to go, and now they'll call the timeout, trailing by 3. Well, it's been the turnover all night long, and in the end, the Pacers have given the Celtics another chance by committing their 19th turnover.
That is Mark Boyle describing one of the more notable steel-toed nutters that Pacer fans have had in a long time. At in-game situation on the inbound last night, I've been all over this today. And obviously, huge disappointment. And, the choke, the gag, however you want to put it. And no doubt. And you find yourself down 0-1. And I'm not trying to make, the moral of the story is, and that's a character builder, and everything's going to be all right. I'm not trying to tell you that. But I will tell you this. Pacers aren't going to go anywhere. Pacers played well last night except for that late-game debacle. They played well. But that does not lessen the pain. That split the fellas up last night for Pacer fans. It really did. Did it not, guys? It split the two. The boys got split. And that's how tough that was. Kid Quill just joined us, and he said, what did he say? He got up and screamed, how do you like that, or how do you like that now? That's awesome. Kid Quill, by the way, podcast 1075thefan.com. Read us VK, VCR a little bit earlier, too. Eddie Gill, Pacers radio, the former NBA guard, also earlier. Nick Swartzen tickets right now. Nick Swartzen's going to be playing the Old National Egyptian Room. Actor-comedian Nick Swartzen. That's coming up on the 22nd of September. Number 9 at 239-1070. I'm going to give you a pair of tickets to go. How do you like that? So that's coming up in September. Again, the Egyptian Room, Old National Center. Nick Swartzen's very funny, by the way. I think he spent a little bit of time, right, in and around the Adam Sandler group, which has been ever expanding. But I think he's got a card membership to the Adam Sandler group. Nick Swartz at number 9 at 239-1070. District Tap, Miller Lite Carb Day passes. You can see Kid Quill, Jen Blossoms, and George Thorogood coming up on Friday. We got passes for you and race day tickets as well. Road show tomorrow at Rick's Boatyard with Deep Eddy Vodka. Our friend Brent Halverson will be there. You can imagine what's going to go down coming up tomorrow on the deck. The first stop on our deck tour tomorrow, Rick's Boatyard with Brent Halverson and Deep Eddy Vodka tomorrow at 3. Can't wait to see you there. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he was doing the radio work last night in for Pat Boylan, who's on the road with the Fever, and the Fever in Seattle, I believe, coming up later on tonight. And I think you can check out Pat on Channel 13 if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the WTHR games this evening for the Fever and Seattle. Jeremiah Johnson right now, who was doing Pacers Radio Network coverage last night, in for Pat, joins us, who had equally an awful evening, as did all of us, I'm assuming, watching the in-game situation. JJ joins us now. It was difficult for me, buddy. It was.
I've got to admit it was a unique perspective for me. It was the first time that Pat was unavailable and I was available to do his job. And for the road games, just a little bit of behind the curtain, I'm in the studio, and Mark and Eddie, of course, were at the TD Garden, and the only monitor in the studio is about 15 seconds behind. So that was my back was to the monitor. I was focused intently on the call and basically the reactions of the crowd to know whether the play was good or not. And I didn't necessarily turn around and watch every play because you do that and you're not paying attention to the next play. So I didn't, until the replay today, really get a chance to watch some of what happened. I had a good picture of what happened because of Mark and Eddie's outstanding call, but it was disappointing, and I have to admit there were times I was chalking up a victory a little bit too early.
I prepared myself for the worst. I don't know if that's just what being a fan here in Indy's been like, especially in the last 10 years. But when you so substantially late game, and not just the inbounds pass that was errant, but, with Halliburton with 20 seconds remaining, dribbling it effectively out of bounds. When you open yourself up to be done in the fashion in which the Pacers did, I was in full preparation that whatever junk, whatever slop that was going to be thrown up there probably was going to go in.
I guess once they got the rebound and then they were fouled with, 10 seconds left, I actually thought they were headed to the free throw line, although I guess I should have known that Boston would have had one to give with the final 2 minutes because they rarely got the Pacers in the penalty. But at that point, I was feeling pretty good, and, of course, the one thing that still had to happen was a successful inbounds, and we all know that did not happen. So it was frustrating. Obviously, even this morning, it was one of those mornings where you wake up and you wonder how that happened. And my guess is it's been a tough day in Boston for the team. But by the time they get to tomorrow morning, it'll be further removed from their mind, and at least they'll be thinking about it enough, though, that maybe they can come out and get a little payback in game 2.
Let me tell you this. As much as, and Miles said it last night, too, after the game, he said, our inexperience showed right there with what transpired late in the game. And I agree that to be true. But I also will tell you this. I would counter by saying, hey, maybe their inexperience also in terms of being able to forget and move on to something that happened last night. Maybe you can look at it that way as well, because they just haven't been down this path before to understand really anything, whether you're talking about winning or feeling good or losing and having that happen to you last night. So, maybe that's the key. I think we called it, you may have in Peru as well, young, dumb, and full of something, right? That's kind of what I hope. I kind of hope that they are with that inexperience, because it is a short turnaround, and I fully expect them, JJ, to come out and play exactly in the fashion in which they did last night.
I agree with you. I think they'll bounce back. They'll be motivated. They'll be paying attention to what everyone is saying, that was their one chance to get a road win, and now the series is over. The only counter that concerns me a little bit is Boston has been hearing for a month now about they're not good at the home court in the playoffs. And in game 2s, they have not been successful. And this is, of course, a game 2. And if you look at some of the demeanor of the Celtics in their post-game interviews, they were not jumping for joy that they won game 1. They were a little disappointed with the way they played. So that's the only negative that I see heading into this, where the Pacers will show some resiliency. They will play hard. They will bounce back. But you hope the Celtics don't play as if they lost that game or they have a lot to improve upon. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's the beauty of sports. You don't really know. And when the Pacers fell behind 12-0, I did not think we'd be talking about an overtime game anyways. And they battled back on a couple of different occasions. You just can't dig yourself a hole and have to spend the whole game trying to come back like they did in game 1.
JJ, Boston played well. That's the only difference, and I understand your argument, and you may ultimately be right as far as their feeling and knowing that they have to play better. But when you look at the stats, even if Jason Tatum had a slow starting off night, he had 36 and 12, all right? 26 for Brown, including that game evener at the end of regulation. Holiday with 28, probably his best shooting performance in stinking forever. They were good. There was no letdown. There was no 6-day layoff effect going on there. They were good, and the Pacers matched. So that's why I sit here and think we're going to get something similar tomorrow night, or at least maybe that's what I think. That's what I expect to see from this Pacer team.
I'm with you. I'm on board. I admit, though, that earlier today I was starting to wonder a little bit and wonder if that was their chance. But I agree with you that the Celtics played well. And if you think about down the stretch to get into overtime, Horford and Holiday were the guys that hit the big shots. And, those are the guys that if you're the Pacers, you probably want to shoot those shots. I'm a little concerned still with the Celtics' ability to draw fouls. It felt like when they built that lead back up in the third quarter, every other possession they were going to the free throw line. And I did not think, the officiating was the big story of the game. However, when they need to slow the game down and when they need to get easy ones, even though they weren't easy for the Celtics, they didn't shoot a great percentage of the free throw line. They do have a knack of getting the ball to guys like Tatum and Brown and getting them to the free throw line. And I've watched enough Pacers games. The Pacers they don't have that as part of their repertoire, unfortunately. So they've got to do it the hard way, the old-fashioned way. They've got to earn it, and occasionally the Celtics can get some trips to the charity stripe.
It's Jeremiah Johnson, Bally Sports Indiana normally, but doing in for Pat Borland, Pacers Radio Network, back at you in Game 2 coming up tomorrow evening. From Boston is game number 2. You can hear it right here on the Fan. I look at all that entailed as the Pacers did give it away, and that certainly was the ugly part of it. And there was a lot to dissect there. Eddie Gill was on with me a little bit earlier. He didn't necessarily agree with a lot that I was spewing and spouting, and I understand why. I think more so than anything else is you fully expect to be able to inbound the ball, right? At that level, be able to inbound it no matter where you're inbounding it. However, the one thing that I would have significantly changed, I thought McConnell had to be in the game. He's your quickest guy to the ball, and not inbounding the ball either. And if you're not going to have him out there, I don't think you can have Nemhart inbounding the ball. And you took away one option because Miles, was in another state on the other end of the floor. So that personnel grouping to try to inbound that ball, I thought it should have been recognized, that wasn't going to work, and a timeout given, and maybe you go ahead and advance the ball after that and then get it in. But you also mentioned this, JJ. You said, well, you look at it as an end result, and, the officiating had nothing to do with it. And you're right. I mean, the Pacers gagged that away on their own, but it did have something to do with it because not being in the penalty, not being over the limit when that foul occurred after the Miles rebounded kick out to Halliburton, it's not going to be talked about because of the way the Pacers gave it away, but that was a hell of a big deal. That changes everything just dramatically at that moment.
It does change everything. And, again, I thought that they were going to be going to the free throw line. Then I was a little surprised, again, admitting that I was watching the TV on a delay and listening to Mark and Eddie. I was a little surprised, but then I still thought, okay, you just inbounds the ball. And, again, Rick Carlisle said he should have advanced the ball. You move it from the free throw line to midcourt, and then you have a little bit more space, I suppose, but it's still a pass that you should be able to execute. And I don't necessarily criticize the coaching staff for not calling timeout because I still would have to go back and count, but it didn't even necessarily feel like Nemhard was at 4. I mean, it was a pass. It felt like to me, like at 2 or 3, he still had another place to look. I think he just thought that Pascal Siakam was more open than he was, and I guess you have to give Jaylen Brown a lot of credit for getting his hands on the ball, but then making sure it wasn't his hands on the ball last. So, again, it's a freak play. You hate that it came down to that, and then you still had one last play where you're thinking, all right, as long as you can get a stop here or foul or, allow them a layup, you're still going to be in good shape. A lot of bad things had to happen in a row, and that's what made it so difficult to deal with. But once it went to overtime, you knew it'd be tough because you had all that momentum, and it'd be tough to come back from that.
Eddie had told me earlier he didn't think that there was enough time for Siakam to make that decision to foul from inbound to catch. And I mentioned this, JJ, and I kind of wonder what you think about the effect of, both the rule of the ball having to be put into play before, or I should say, be put into play before you foul or you're going to shoot a technical, and then the gathering going up as maybe leads to that particular mindset from Siakam about, hey, I have a short amount of time, a short window anyway to get this foul, but it's even more magnified because of those two rules in situations. You agree?
I do agree. I respect everyone that has an opinion, and I saw even LeBron James decided to weigh in of all time, saying that's why I'm a proponent of fouling all the time up 3.
Right.
And I think that J.J. Redick, again, I didn't hear everything, but I heard that he said that, based on the previous times the Pacers don't foul up 3, that's not actually accurate. I mean, they are a proponent of the analytics, and they want to foul up 3, but they don't want to foul a shooter. And so sometimes, like the Chris Middleton play, if he catches it and shoots it, I'm not sure really what you're supposed to do. I'd like to throw some people out there and say, with that catch, how do you foul them after they've gotten the ball before they shoot it? Because as you said, these guys are so good at gathering and shooting. To me, if he puts the ball on the ground, that's the green light to get the foul. If not, make sure you sure don't foul the shooter and allow him to make it, which almost ended up happening. So I believe they were told in the timeout, if you can foul, but whatever you do, don't foul a shooter. And I don't really know that Pascal Siakam, at least the way they chose to defend that, could have done that. So that'd be my only thought. I probably would have, I'd say hindsight's 20/20, maybe you switch a little bit so he doesn't even have the chance to catch that outside the arc. If you could throw the ball to someone that's inside the restricted area, then you could foul if they have to then pass or dribble, because I don't think they were going to shoot a layup.
Let's face it, JJ, the reason why everybody had drawn that conclusion about Carlisle not giving the foul right there up 3 was because they didn't switch. Normally, the Pacers defensively, I mean, hell, they're switching everything, and sometimes that drives me insane. But at that moment, if you truly wanted to give the foul, you would be switching everything. That's how you would play that, and because they didn't play that, I think that has led to a great deal of speculation that they had no intention on giving it.
Yeah, I just know, though, that I've seen, this team for the last 2 or 3 seasons with this coaching staff, and they believe in fouling up 3, but it's got to be within a certain amount of time. Like, they don't want to foul up 3 with 10 seconds on the clock and then get in a situation where you could lose the game. Because that's the one thing you don't want to do. You at worst tie. You don't want to get in a position where you could lose, and that could happen. Now, in this situation, I think the clock was in their favor. It's just, could you get that foul while it wasn't in the shooting motion? And again, I believe that staff believes in fouling. I don't know what was said in that huddle, but your point about why they weren't switching is one that I'm not sure we'll ever really know, because they're not going to explain their strategy in that situation.
All right, the final 2-minute report has been released. Are you ready?
Oh, no. I'm not sure that I am, but go ahead.
Yeah, not as if we're all flaccid as hell the way that it is after last night's debacle, but here we go. League says, and this is according to Tony East, Jaylen Brown briefly grasps and releases Pascal Siakam's jersey during the throw-in, and the contact does not affect Siakam's freedom of movement on the Pacers' key turnover with 10 seconds remaining, ruled a correct no call. And according to Tony East, only incorrect calls in the final 2 minutes of regulation and OT. This is per the NBA. Miles Turner committed an uncalled defensive 3 seconds in the key, 1:47 to go on the clock, and Tyrese Halliburton traveled with 1:01 to go before a missed 3. So evidently the only missed calls were those missed on the Pacers' behalf.
That's fine. I didn't think that the calls in the final 2 minutes were as impactful as some that were earlier in the game, so I'm not sure that I was, I was waiting with bated breath for the last 2-minute report.
By the way, Tony continues, Rick Carlisle said today that he didn't want to air out any officiating talk publicly. There are ways to address those things, and if needed, that he will. And, well, he's right about that. That judgment was good, because there's nobody in the world that wanted to hear anything about officiating with the way that in-game situation went.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point you have to take ownership, and despite all of that, despite the deficits, despite the disparity, and despite the turnovers, you still had a chance to go win game 1, and I understand that leads to your optimism in saying you didn't play your best. You thought the Celtics played pretty well, and you were still right there and had a chance to win. So I'll be interested to see what, if any, defensive adjustments might be made offensively. What do you do to just make sure a guy like Drew Holiday is not able to force those turnovers? If he's locked in to Tyrese Halliburton, does he get it out of his hands a little bit quicker? Because I do have to tip my cap to Drew Holiday. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He's not someone that baits for fouls. He plays hard, and he was a difference maker. It was discussed with Eddie and Mark and I on the post-game show when they have to do the player of the game, and I think Mark picked Tatum. Eddie picked Drew Holiday. I was going to go Jaylen Brown, but of the 3, I said I'll break the tie and say Holiday, because I thought his defense was that good, and a big reason why the Pacers had those turnovers.
JJ, if you were going to tell me before the game the Pacers would turn it over 20-plus times, I would tell you they'd be beaten by 20. True story.
Yeah, just the turnovers and the free throw disparity, you would say they had no chance to be in that game.
Shot making. And that's something else I think you need to look at is the past two games, the groove in which they are shooting the basketball has been incredible. You know, even among all these mistakes we're talking about they made, the turnovers and, you know, lack of late game execution, all of that. But it is startling in the last two games now the way this team is shooting the basketball. Really, if you want to say three, you go back to game number 6 probably on Friday night against the Knicks at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The way they're shooting the basketball right now, they're on an incredible offensive run.
They are, and that is something that I think can carry over from game to game, because if you have that momentum and you have that confidence, you should have it 2 nights later. And I know you said that Miles said we were inexperienced and young. They played in enough big games this season and in atmospheres where they really needed to execute at a high level that I do think that's a reason why they can go into this environment and this situation and execute well offensively. Again, offense is what they do. I mean, everybody has strengths in life, whether it's work or what they do at home. There's things they're good at. They are a really good offensive team, and so it's showing here in the playoffs. The way they need to improve is to be able to get some stops defensively, some key rebounds, and again, just maybe some of that late game execution. Can you still play that offense when you're trying to be a little cautious milking the clock? That's always a little bit of a dilemma, and I think they kind of battled that a little bit in the fourth quarter.
It's Jeremiah Johnson, Bally Sports Indiana, doing Pacer work right now, Pacer Radio Network. Game 2 tomorrow night right here on the Fan. The one thing about Miles, and this is with Obi too, Miles had a great game. Obi's been really good, but I can do without either one of them dribbling the basketball. Can we get that done? I don't want to see these guys dribble it more than twice. You know, unless it's like a straight line, quick dribble to the rim, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, no arguments here. Obi Toppin had a really good first half, and in the second half, just not so much. And he even has said at times early in the season, he said, I'm not a guy that's going to create off the dribble. I'll catch and shoot, and I'll run to the basket. So hopefully he can get some of those plays pointed out to him, especially against a team like Boston. I mean, they're going to take advantage of any weakness. So my guess is their antenna's up, and if Obi Toppin puts it on that parquet, they're going to swarm like bees on honey. So my guess would be you see less of that. You see Obi Toppin doing what he does best and maybe a little bit less creating off the dribble. And I will acknowledge probably the same instructions for Miles Turner as well.
Late clock Miles dribbling and trying to get around the defender going between his legs is not what I want to see ever. Never. And I'm a huge Miles supporter, but if he wants to go ahead and take that out of his game right now, and I know the circumstances were different because he had to get a shot off and he was trying to create anything out of a horrendous situation. But yeah, you don't want to see it. And really, JJ, when you think about it, when this ball is moving and popping, that's what you want to see. And I think that kind of takes us to where I'm curious how Boston is going to play it coming up in Game 2 tomorrow. Do you think we're going to see a lot more defensive zone? And for a team that equally enjoys getting out and running, I think that was at a faster pace even when the Celtics want to go. Are they going to try to slow it down a little bit tempo-wise?
I think they will. You know, I heard a lot of people out of Boston and nationally say that if the Pacers want Boston to play fast, it plays into Boston's hands because when they struggle at times, they're a little bit isolation. But I watched a little bit of that fourth quarter, and it just seemed like Jason Tatum, you know, he wasn't running up and down the court. If they got a rebound or the Pacers scored, they were trying to walk it up, and he was kind of casually getting the ball up the court. I think the key for the Pacers, it's been this way all season. It's been both the playoff series. When they can get out and run, make, miss, steal, however, get that ball out of the referee's hands on a dead ball. You get out and go, and you beat the defense down the floor. This isn't the kind of team that you just want to execute in the half court and then hope that you've got a great play with 2 on the shot clock. I mean, that's not Pacers basketball. So I do agree with you. I could see them going to a little bit of zone, especially if the Pacers can get off to a good start and have their offense clicking. But you can't set up in the zone if the Pacers beat them down the floor. So that would be my instructions once again, is just to go, go, go. Run like Forrest Gump.
Yeah, well, that, and I thought the Pacers either adjusted well because Boston was doing that. Boston was going out on the make. One pass to half court and another pass and going in and beating the Pacers a couple of different times in the first half down the floor. And I don't know if that went away because the Pacers defensively were more recognizing of that, or because maybe Boston necessarily did not want to go at that particular pace and kind of slowed it a little bit on their own. But we saw that early, and that kind of disappeared over the course of the game.
My take would be Boston can play that way, but they don't want to do it for 4 quarters for 48 minutes. And so while they started out playing well, faster pace, they don't have as deep of a bench. Maybe a guy like Peyton Pritchard can come in and push the tempo. When it gets down to it, they're probably going to slow it up in the second half, and they're going to try to rely on Brown and Tatum to make plays. For the Pacers, they'd like them to play, at their pace the entire time. So I do agree with you. It's not like the Knicks where they at all costs slow it down, but I still don't think that there are many teams in the NBA that are as conditioned as the Pacers that can play with their foot on the accelerator the entire game like Indiana can.
Hey, in closing here, I got to hit a break, and Jeremiah Johnson's with us. I told Pacer fans to enjoy, if you haven't watched a lot of the Celtics this year, if you like Brunson and his forearm push-offs, then you'll really love Jason Tatum in his elbow and then arm extension push-offs every single possession. Every single one. It's like, I think Aaron Nesmith needs to wear a flak jacket because it was elbow and then arm extension every single time. And to me, that was much worse than what we saw from Brunson in the last series.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't dribble the ball up the court, so to me, he doesn't have the opportunity to do it quite as much. And there are times in the catch and shoot where he will not actually drive in. But when they are isolating, when they're in the half court and he's trying to get into the paint, he's got as strong of a forearm as anybody in the league. And again, I don't know what the advice defensively to Aaron Nesmith would be. The only thing I'll say is it does seem like the officials, they're looking for one thing, and that's if your hands are on the body around the waist, then it's almost a green light for the foul or for a guy like Jason Tatum to go for the shot, and it's a tell basically for the referees. So whatever you can do to provide resistance, but I feel like it's coaching 6th grade basketball at times when I used to yell, "Show your hands." I mean, if you have those hands up, and you can't just have your hands up in the air the whole time and have lateral quickness, but in that situation when he's backing you down, as long as you show your hands and you're squared up, I don't think you're going to get the foul call.
Yeah, and that will always be justified in a review, too.
Yeah.
Always.
I agree. But you can't just review everything.
Well, I mean, Tom Thibodeau's still reviewing stuff, and they're done. So, yes, you about can, I think, right? So
yeah, the worst part about that game is that I thought it was one of the craziest challenges I'd seen, that Joe Mazzulla called a challenge on the goaltending 30 seconds into the game, and then it ended up being the difference.
Yeah. It was so obvious, though. I don't think that was as difficult or as outlandish as anybody might think, because that was shout out to our guy Tyler Ford, who completely whiffed on that. that was him.
Before the double lane violation and three seconds on Obi Toppin. Maybe the Obi Toppin one was correct, but I went back and watched that one today. And when guys make an effort to get out of the lane, you're pretty much given a reset. From what I've seen covering this league, I mean, he made an effort. Sam Cassell jumps out of his chair, yells 3 seconds, and then the call was made for 3 seconds. That's the way I saw it.
Tyler was digging deep into the rule book last night, is what you're saying, right? So those I believe those were all his calls.
Not too many double lane violations are called in this league.
All right, he's got you. Pacers Radio Network coming up tomorrow night, game number 2. He's our friend Jeremiah Johnson on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Stay in touch.
All right. Thanks, John.
JJ's there. I'm John. District Tap, Miller Lite Carb Day, and Race Day tickets to give away. We're on the north side. I'd love to see you here. We'll come back I think Jeff's going to join us, who's the manager, friend of the show of the District Tap here on the north side. And me and you, let's do some calls at 239-1070. Motivate yourself. Again, 239-1070. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new
Special message for all the kids watching at home.
Stay out of trouble.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, Miller Lite Carb Days Friday. This is Thorogood. It'll be a good show. He's going to headline. Gin Blossom's a part of it, and Kid Quill just joined us a little bit earlier. I like that dude. Shout out to Shelbyville, Indiana's Kid Quill. And whoever set him up, I know James got his number. James, did somebody call in and get you in touch with Kid Quill?
Yes, they did.
I don't know his last name, but his first name is Mitchell Quillen. Quillen's his middle name, thus you get Kid Quill right there. But he's a very good dude. And shout out to those that set him up. IMS.com to get your tickets if you don't have them right now. Or if you don't, hustle ass over here and get your opportunity to win them while we have them. Miller Lite Carb Day Friday, IMS.com for your tickets to purchase right now. We're giving them away, and race day tickets too with our friends from Miller Lite at the District Tap on the north side. It's been a busy show. I'll recap that with you coming up in a minute. But Jeff is the manager. Actually, the manager here. We met Jeff long ago as he was the manager downtown.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to think. Was it during the NCAA tournament the last time we were here? Right? It's not that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. You guys were here. We love having y'all.
How are things going?
Things
looks
going great
good right now.
Fantastic. Got a good crowd came out here. I want to thank you guys. Thank Miller Coors.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank the weather for being fantastic. Got our patio doors open. That definitely helps.
And remain the same
yes,
the rest
please.
of the way, okay? Don't screw with it, weather whatsoever. All right, what you guys got to offer? This is a Wednesday night. What kind of Wednesday nights do you guys normally have here?
So we have pretty cool Wednesdays. It's more of a chill night for us, which we kind of like. Get the patio doors open, gets people on the patio. We do have some Wednesday night concert series starting up on June 5th.
Tell me more.
We're going to have bands every Wednesday nights from 7 to 10. That will be different rock band every week. We're starting off with Living Proof on June 5th.
I know of them. That's a good band.
Fantastic show. We've had them before. They bring a good crowd. We're looking forward to having them back.
Living Proof. Who else is on the list? Do you know? Anybody?
I think Jay Baker's on there somewhere.
Jay Baker's taler's talented.
Jay Baker's here almost every Thursday. He's a great guy. We're glad to have him too.
I know a lot of these bands, and there's some like Big Roscoe and the Hammers, friends of mine. They are really good. They put on a great show. Toy Factory is another one. I don't know if they're on your list, but I'm just kind of naming some of these.
We got a pretty stellar lineup. I don't want to spoil it, but
yeah,
we'll have pretty good groups coming out here.
All right, and food-wise, you guys continue to do what you normally do.
Yes, sir. And we're also, I want to throw this out there, we are sponsoring Ed Carpenter Racing again this year. We're proud to do so. We're going to have the car out tomorrow for dinner, so from about 4 to 7, come see the Ed Carpenter race car out in front of District Tap on the north side.
ECR. Now, let's make fun of Ed. Is he not going to be here right now?
I'm not sure if Ed's coming out. I hope so, but I don't want to promise that. So
if Ed's listening right now, or if anybody out there knows Ed, give him a message and say, are you going to be here tomorrow? He needs to be here tomorrow. I need to have him on the show, and we'll just talk about it.
I'll save a seat for you, Ed. Come on out tomorrow.
He is yet to be on the show during the month of May, and I feel bad about that. Normally I pick him, and then if he doesn't win, he blames me for picking him when he doesn't win. So
we've sponsored our team several years now, so we're always proud to do so. Happy
great
to work
guy.
with them.
Absolutely
Fantastic
great guy. So Ed Carpenter, ECR car, going to be here tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I'll be here tomorrow for dinner from about 4 to 7. So come on out and check it out. Get some pictures taken of it.
Friday, Saturday too, going to be big.
So Friday, obviously, we have, the big Pacers game on Saturday. That'll be huge.
Yep.
Best place to watch is District Tap North Side. We have 70 TVs and a big TV that's 26 feet by 7 feet, one of the biggest in town.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, glad to have it. And then obviously they'll be playing on Monday as well. So
I want you to come to the District Tap on the north side, even when I'm gone, and ask for Jeff.
Please do. I'm always here.
Let Jeff set you up, man. Hey, thanks for all that you do for us.
Yes, sir.
You are a great
Thank
partner,
you too.
Jeff, always with us.
We love having you guys out here. I appreciate it, John.
Thank you very much. That's Jeff right there. And we got to thank, again, our friends at Miller Lite for having us up here as well. The District Tap on the north side, even when I'm gone, busted up here and have a great time. All right, some more Pacer Game 1 Celtics reaction. Jerome's going to go right now at 239-1070. Jerome, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, how's it going, my friend?
Well, we've been better, right? I mean, we've been better.
I'm gonna go to the dance with the girl I picked, man. I picked the Pacers in 6, man. My problem with losing is We're going to have to win 2 in Boston because Boston can easily come here and win 2 here. What people don't understand is the way we're exploiting 40-year-old Al Horford is the same way Porzingis is going to exploit Miles Turner when he comes back game 3 or 4. Nembhard has done that before in the past, throwing the ball away. So that's nothing new with him taking the ball out. Matter of fact, last year we lost to Boston on kind of a similar play throwing the ball inbound. My problem with that whole play, Siakam gets a little timid towards the end of games. If you're throwing the ball to Siakam, he doesn't shoot free throws well at the end of the game. I want to know why my $250 million point guard did not come towards the ball. Why are we not throwing? Worst case scenario, throw it in the backcourt. But what you don't do is throw it in inbound to a guy that can't shoot free throws. And at the end of the day, you foul him. He was too wide open. Siakam lost him on the play. And then the three-point play is, why is Nembhard on Jason Tatum? He made 3 bad plays in a row.
No, I completely. Now, wait, I do want to double back. Did you say that Porzingis is going to work Miles?
Yes. Off a foot speed
Really?
alone.
Why?
Because he's 7'3", he can go out on the wing, and Miles has a problem guarding Porzingis. You got to see, we've beaten him a couple times without Porzingis. The problem is, I'm not worried about Tatum. He can get his. The guy that always kills us is Devin White. He kills us. There's a problem with, the cross match.
That wasn't last night. It was Holiday killed him last night. If you want to add somebody to the equation that normally doesn't score at that volume, that was Holiday that killed him last night.
Yeah, but it's still Holiday's an all-star player. I don't expect that from him every game. But just look over the course of the game what Devin White does. So it's a steal here and there, a shot here and there. We should have won that game, honestly, by about 10 points.
Well, there's no doubt they should have won that game, man. No doubt. And that does cloud your Pacers in 6 prediction a little bit with the way that they gagged that thing up.
I believe we can beat them. The thing people don't understand, they have to understand, you got a chance to go to play for a world championship. You're not going to have LeBron to face. You're not going to have Joker. Let's be honest. We're not scared of Ant-Man. We're not scared of Luka. We feel we just as good as them, even though he's playing hell of a ball right now. But you can argue whoever wins the Boston Pacers series should be NBA champion. So I don't understand why they're not grasping the moment.
Jerome, thank you for the call. I do firmly, and I've said this, expect them to respond. I do. When a lot of people are just kind of writing them off, oh, there was a chance, and now it's over, while it's ridiculous the way that they lost. And it does substantially hinder their opportunity to have a chance at winning this series. I don't think those fellas are going to go anywhere. In fact, I don't want to talk about them if they do fade. If they do come out tomorrow night and there's a prolonged effect from the way they gargled that thing up last night. I don't want to be talking about that. That is not my expectation with this group. Hey, they may foul some things up. They may mess some situations up. They may give the ball away 21 times. They may do some things late game that cost them the game. But coming out and being themselves and playing at that level is something I expect from this group. And I expect that tomorrow night. Quick break. We will turn. Final time, District Tap on the north side. I will tell you all about our location tomorrow and how much like you've been here today, you need to show up. It's going to be a blast. We start our deck tour tomorrow. I'll tell you when and where. That's coming up next. Also, we got a pair of tickets, I think, for the Brown County Music Center to give away on the other side as well. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Want to cut cooling bills without cutting comfort? Lower utility costs and enjoy cool and consistent comfort with a highly efficient air conditioner from Luxair. With Luxair's consumer rebate.
With JMV.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
District Tap, North Side, Miller Lite. Thank you, guys. And my friend Jeff at the District Tap for having us. Carb Day tickets were given away. Race Day tickets to you here. Cinderella in the background right there. Tom Kiefer's Cinderella will be paying a visit to Nashville. Shout out to Christian, who does a great job at the Brown County Music Center. So you get Tom Kiefer's Cinderella, the headliner. Faster Pussycat will open up. That's coming to the Brown County Music Center August the 22nd. Number 9 at 239-1070 can get tickets to that show. That is going to be a humdinger. And if you've never been to the Brown County Music Center, where have you been? Why haven't you been there? Great time, it really is. And again, thanks for Christian and the gang down there for always working and being awesome with us. Number 9 at 239-1070 can go. Well, this has been, even with the outcome of the game last night, and it was so terrible. It was so awful the way that it was. We do always have to tell it like it is. And there's no way of getting around it. That was a gag job. There's no way of getting around it. That certainly has hindered a chunk of their opportunity to surprise or shock the world and to beat the Celtics in this Eastern Conference Finals. Can you imagine what we had sat here and talked about today if the Pacers could have just inbounded the ball, hit a free throw, and been done? That's just what's incredible about it. All the crap that had to happen. I bring this up all the time because you fans, not just Pacer fans, but fans in general around here, you've had to sift through so much crap, so many bad moments. There's so many moments of which you got to be kidding me. That just happened. It's stuff that normally doesn't, that did. And last night, it kind of felt like that again, didn't it? Kind of felt like, those moments before that, has led you, the fan, and us covering the sports teams around here to think, people to tell me, I think they're cursed. You need to do this. Last night there was no curse. Last night it was just horrendous execution at the absolute worst time. And as much as I like to rip on the officiating, that didn't have anything to do with it either. It was just a team that, had they been able to execute at all, would have been a much different situation. Man, that stunk. They'll go at it game 2 tomorrow. We'll have it for you. Cam, great job out of you. Sienna and Chris, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow, our deck tour starts with Brent Halverson and Deep Eddy Vodka. I want to see you at Rick's Boatyard tomorrow beginning at 3. Can I count on you there? Rick's Boatyard tomorrow, Deep Eddy Vodka, me, Brent Halverson, and a loaded show, including Bobby Marks of ESPN, coming up on tomorrow's show. Eddie Gill, a little bit earlier. Renus VK of ECR, also earlier. Kevin Bowen, Kid Quill was outstanding. And Jeremiah Johnson, podcast 1075thefan.com. James back in the studio as usual, holding that bad boy down. Rick's Boatyard tomorrow. The sample shall be flown. I can't wait to see you there. We'll prep you for game number 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Beginning at 3, Eagle Creek, Rick's Boatyard tomorrow. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The laundry room. For as long as I can remember, this was the only